السلام عليكم
And then
ورحمة الله
the
وبركاته.
peace be upon all of you, Your Excellency Dr. Majid Abdullah Qasabi, the President of the SASO Council, your ladies and gentlemen, and all of our viewers around the globe through the virtual platform. We would like to, I am Mohamed Dakhi, welcome to the fifth forum standards that is being organized by SASO under the patronage of His Excellency Dr. Majid bin Abdullah Al Qasabi. This forum is coinciding with the celebrations of the standards authorities around the globe under the this logo, shared vision for better future, that is being to trade exchange, and also to have the competitive advantages for the national industries. This forum is a recognition of the standards and the role of standards around the globe and the human life around the globe. Now, now the SASO speech will be the opening remarks that will be delivered by His Excellency Dr. Majid bin Abdullah Al Qasabi. In the name of Allah, most merciful, most Your Excellency Dr. Majid Al Qasabi, the Minister of Commerce and the Chairman of SASO Council, Your Excellency Peter Georgi, the President of the International Standards Organization, your dear viewers, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I am delighted that me and my colleagues that we celebrating today the International Day of Standards and the slogan better, the shared view for better future, coinciding with the international and the modern technologies, and for the also international economic growth. Is that Saudi SASO is participating with the entire world to remind that the government of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, that is that we are caring about this infrastructure of the standards as enabler, one of the important enablers to achieve the sustainable development. The SASO is issuing standards and regulations in addition to the technical guidelines to help the importers and the manufacturer to make sure that about the safety of the product and the competitiveness of the national economy. Ladies and gentlemen, the SASO is keen in coinciding with some challenges through strategic plans that is going through 30,000 standards for the safety of the consuming, and the Saudi quality mark have been given to many standards around the globe. Cyber platform has given many activities, and so the SASO is trying to be one of the vivid organizations worldwide. The SASO also trying to create an incentive environment and listen to the challenges and risks as well, and work integrately with the private sector, and to have an effective participation of the private sector to achieve the goals of Saudi Arabian Vision 2030 and the fifth international forum that coinciding with the celebration of the World of the International Day of Standards, and also this is reinforce our commitment of the best practices and to have a common view for a better world. And finally, I would like to thank you, Your Excellency Minister, for accepting the patronage of this forum, and also I'd like to thank the President of ISO for his participation in the International Standards Organization. I would like to also thank the organizers of this conference, and I would like I'm asking Allah Almighty to have success for this conference, and peace be upon all of you. Thank you, Your Excellency Dr. Saad Al-Qasabi, for your speech. Would like to thank you in the Saudi Standards. Now we're going to have a video that shows the march of SASU in developing the standards and metrology, as well as the reinforcing the safety of products within the local market.
The Saudi market is full of millions of locally manufactured merchandise and imported products through multiple air, land, and sea ports. Millions of imported vehicles. The market is full of electrical and electronic products. Substantial amounts of construction materials and supplies enter the kingdom annually. These massive traded quantities undergo a large number of standardizations and technical regulations issued and updated periodically by the Saudi Standards Metrology and Quality Organization, SASO. SASO, the authority, was founded in 1972 to protect consumers and ensure providing them with the best products and commodities that meet the highest standards and raise the overall quality, safety, and competitive national economy levels. And the quality journey begins by ensuring that products are manufactured within the industrial organizations that follow the standardization and technical regulation requirements of Saudi Arabia. In addition to these requirements, there are some products and commodities that require the procurement of specific marks and certifications to get the trading permit, such as mobile phones, air conditioning appliances, cement, ceramic, and sanitary ware. SASO grants factories the Saudi quality mark after ensuring their commitment to the standardization of their products and ascertaining that the work and production lines operate as per the quality systems. This process is achieved through periodic evaluation visits by the SASO team. Products and commodities from massive global factories are also subject to the standards of SASO. Entities approved by the authority are granted certificates of conformity before shipping to Saudi markets. These entities conduct tests for products and commodities in their country of origin, ensuring they meet the standards and metrology requirements. The quality of the millions of products and commodities traded daily in the Saudi markets reinforces the national economy competitiveness and elevates the quality of life on every level. For you, we set the highest standards and ensure their execution for everyone to have easy access to safe products. Because you deserve better products, the perfect life, and the best future.
كما شاهدنا في الفيديو نشهد اليوم
As you have seen, the unintegrated organizations through approving the Saudi standards that are appropriate for the national products to be competitive, whether in the local market or international market. Now we are given the space for to His Excellency Dr. Majid Al-Qasabi to Dr. Majid Al-Qasabi, the chairman of SASO Council, to give his speech in this occasion.
In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. His Excellency Mr. EDEG, the Director of the International Standards Organization, peace be upon you. I'm glad today to join you in the 5th edition of the ovens and the industry, as we are participating in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia to celebrate the International Day of Standards under the slogan of a better vision for a better world. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia has been keen to enhance the national capacity in the different elements and the components of the infrastructure in the sector, and all the different activities that includes metrology, standards, accreditation, and also the processes of the evaluation of different processes, and also to develop the Saudi standards and metrology, as it is a main pillar to enhance the safety of the consumer and one of the most important enablers of the different trade activities. And we are very proud of what the SASO has accomplished of objectives that ensures our place in the international arena, since the number of more than 30,000 resolutions issued pertaining to the safety of the products in the market, and also preserves the competitiveness edge for the Saudi manufacturer, and also maintains the levels of different safety standards for the products produced. And no doubt the efforts spent by the technical teams in SASO targets to reach is also and that's the vision of a better world. And with this, I take advantage of this opportunity to ask all our partners in the private sector to a wider spectrum of participation to develop the technical aspects as to achieve our aspirations to raise the level of safety in the Saudi market, and the most important element to achieve the sustainable development objectives. I extend my thanks and gratitude to SASO for the organization of this gathering, and my thanks extend to all the speakers and all the participating audience, and hoping that we can come up with suggestions and positive remarks that will reflect positively on the manufacturing sector, and develop the different international standards here in the market and globally. The thanks extend to His Excellency the Minister Mr. and all those working to develop the Saudi standards and metrology, and it's a main pillar to enhance the safety of the consumer, and the most important enablers for the economical growth and the different trade activities. We thank Your Excellency. And now ISO will give a speech given by Mr. Eddie Georgi. والآن من دواعي السرور
Organization from Standardization is joining us from Geneva. It's great to have you with us today, Mr. Eddie. The mic to you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, Minister of Commerce, and the distinguished patron of this, the 5th Standards Forum, Dr. Saad Al-Kasabi, Governor of SASO, representatives of Saudi Standards, Metrology and Quality Organization.
أشكر جميع أصحاب المعالي وأشكر سيداتي وسادتي. السلام عليكم. إنه بحق من دواعي السرور أن أشارك في هذا المؤتمر ونشارك معكم رؤيتنا حول عالم أفضل. وأنا سعيد تحديدا لأن هذا المؤتمر سيتكلم الاستدامة والثورة الصناعية والمدن الذكية والاقتصاد الذكي وأخرى تتطلب إلى يوم بريد المعلومات. سيداتي وسادتي كلنا في العالم.
Our species is only one among many, but we are unique in our agency, our ability to act. This sets us apart in one important way. We are accountable for our actions and are responsible for managing and caring for others, including most non-human species that make up our spectacular yet fragile ecosystem. On my own personal journey, I have challenged myself to never stop learning. When I joined ISO, the Award of Standards 3 years ago as President-elect, this was a new area, and I knew it was much to learn. But while the calm was deep, I also saw that standards themselves create for new ways of thinking, for change, for for the experiences that I was able to bring from business, both private and private. What I realized then is that standards are the products of knowledge. They are not their own closed off branch of knowledge. They are much more than that. They are an enabling system, like language or computer code, like mathematical formulas. This means that isosystems and the underlying principles of standardization can be applied to systematize and help us understand our most complex challenges. Let's not fool ourselves. Our species is facing some very multiplex challenges. Standards like ISO are some of the most effective ways we have of addressing these challenges, dividing the problem into feasible parts, at the same time maintaining a systematic overview, enabling each nation, organization, or individual to pursue the solutions that best work for them in a way that is compatible, cooperative, and consensus-based. Ladies and gentlemen, as we explore our shared vision for a better world, we can't let our dreams soar high, safe in the knowledge that standards keep our feet firmly on the ground, and that the ISO system is one in which every voice is heard. I would like to share my dreams of how we can build a fairer and more sustainable world through standards, of how we can reap the benefits of an interconnected society, of how we will manage digital transformation so that it remains safe and focused on human interests. Let me start with the SDGs. Widening the recognition of the role of standards can play, especially in addressing challenges of sustainable growth, and the SDGs has been an area of strategic importance throughout my presidency. The UN Sustainable Development Goals were always ambitious, but with little more than 8 years to go, the task seems at times insurmountable. That is understandable. The scale of what is required is immense, but so is what is at stake. We are talking about the future of our planet, of humankind. From honorable ministers to the leaders of business, to people going about their daily lives, everyone is in agreement that something must be done. What is less clear to many decision makers is how to do it. For businesses, for industry, for regulators, and for all those charged with the responsibility of providing public service, of getting food on our tables, availing universal health coverage, of providing sustainable clean power, clean water, and environment, the question is much, much harder. That is where international standards come in. Ladies and gentlemen, through the visibility of a forum like this and the internationally celebrated events such as the World Standards Day, SASO and the entire ISO family is reaching out to our stakeholders with a simple message: international standards can help you achieve the SDGs. Not only have we developed a mapping tool that identifies those standards that give direct support to specific SDGs and specific sectors, but we have recently made a historic declaration to use standards to catalyze action on climate change before it is too late. Every SDG is a call for action, but we can only get there if we work together. International standards offer practical solutions that we can all stand behind. Our plan of action through standards channels the contributions and energy of all elements of society, including local and national governments, business, industry, and individuals. To be successful, the process requires consensus, collaboration, and innovation. My hope is that as the world discusses the pressing issues of climate at COP26 at the end of this month, we will be present, every one of our members, advancing our consensus-based approach
alongside globally recognized solutions through standards. Last month, ISO and its members took a bold step and made a historic declaration. We must continue to build on the momentum of the London Declaration. We must carry on spreading the message of standards offer solutions. One of the ways that we demonstrate this is through the successes of our global members, many of whom have contributed to our climate action kit. It shows testimonial uses of standards for climate action in a broad range of contexts and serves as a powerful aid to standards advocacy. Our members are leading by example, sharing their challenges and their triumphs, adding to the pool of knowledge, driven by their belief in the power of standards. They were essential in helping to create our strategy 2030, and they will be indispensable in delivering it. Ladies and gentlemen, let me now touch a bit on the ongoing pandemic. A lot of concern, concerted energy, and visionary approach will be needed to continue reacting to a changing situation. Not only are we facing a prolonged pandemic, but many are still trying to recover lost ground, facing a backlog of issues that struck in the first wave of COVID-19. Governments, businesses, and organizations have all been put under unexpected operational pressure, and in almost all cases, resources are stretched. I am impressed by the way that ISO members like SASO have demonstrated a flexible, adaptable way of working, maintaining their commitments to international standards development, and continuing to support their stakeholders in benefiting from standards. This same dynamic attitude will influence us all as we go forward. As we look at the future with, notice I did not say post-COVID, a future with COVID, we see a need to maintain proactivity. Digital transformation has accelerated beyond all expectations as a direct result of the pandemic, and we need to maintain the momentum. Ladies and gentlemen, foresighting has been one of our other dreams as we go into the future. Foresight was a strong component of last month's ISO week, and it is an approach that is embedded in our 2030 strategy. It is not about prediction. It is about anticipation. We are prepared for the unexpected and always on the lookout to reimagine and reshape the outcomes. The unexpected digital acceleration is potentially a silver lining that represents a great opportunity for our organizations to really step up at a time when people are ready to embrace change. One of the keys to sustainability is to understand the ecosystem. By bringing to life the connected world, making real the potential of IoT and smart manufacturing, we can better use our resources and we can better understand and mitigate our impact. I mentioned how standards are enablers. ISO standards help us build connected ecosystems. They don't concentrate solely on technologies or one specific aspect, but at the level of the complete system, on the integration of subsystems and components. This is why ISO is so relevant to Industry 4.0. We are at the center of smart manufacturing because it is standards that join the dots between the thousands of otherwise unrelated processes. ISO standards are bringing clarity, providing solutions, and orchestrating the interplay of ideas, data, machines, product, and people. Central to the concept of smart manufacturing is the ability of machines to learn, to communicate, to apply thought to the process of designing and building the objects that help us to make lives easier, safer, and better. The process is dependent on the capture of high-quality data and its exchange and analysis. For the first time, we have gone beyond processes that simply mirror or accelerate those things that we can do as humans. We are in a new territory where machines can enable us to do things that we cannot achieve ourselves. It requires communication, exchange, and interoperability. Those concepts are all central to ISO standards. There are risks, both real and perceived. In this area, as for many emerging technologies, including gene editing and artificial intelligence, providing reassurance to regulators and the public is an important consideration in maintaining the freedom to dream, to experiment, to innovate, and to grow. The role of standards is very important here. By following protocols agreed by experts, we can only overcome technical challenges of interoperability and boost efficiency, but we can also provide oversight frameworks and guidelines without the need of excessive or conflicting legislation. In the development of proportionate and effective regulation, standards are an invaluable tool for governments and their ministries. This was practically demonstrated at the outset of the current global health crisis. It was our members who had not necessarily the knowledge, but the know-how to coordinate and develop the guidance and solutions that people were looking for, from ways to handle viral samples, to guidelines, to PEPs, and even to keep businesses running. Now is the time to build on that recognition of what we can offer. The flexibility that our organization has demonstrated in adapting to unforeseen challenges such as COVID and the need to move rapidly to virtual environment is a testament to our determination and the long-term outlook embodied by our 10-year strategy to 2030. We have moved from crisis to opportunity, and it is incumbent upon us to help others achieve the same. As I have said, we are enablers. Ladies and gentlemen, as I conclude, a word about Industry 4.0. The global health crisis has accelerated the development of standards by virtual processes, and we continue to build on this. In the age of Industry 4.0, the use and application of standards will itself be increasingly virtualized phenomenon. This area is a strategic priority for ISO through the development of smart standards that can be read by machines. It is in this virtual world that we will also continue to examine new ways to reduce our impacts and maintain our quality of life through techniques that enable modeling, testing, and exploration of innovative technologies and products in a way that is resource efficient and safe. Your Excellency, the Minister, ladies and gentlemen, standardizers and friends, distinguished guests, I have been privileged to share with you today our vision for a better world through standards. Once again, I thank you very much for letting me be part of this forum and the debate. Shukran.
Mr. Adian, thank you for your informative, well-structured speech, and thank you for your time and participation in the 5th Standards Forum 2021. You have our best regards. والآن تنطلق أول جلسة حوارية للملتقى الخامس للمواصفات 2021 بعنوان دور المواصفات القياسية في تعزيز التنمية المستدامة. يجتمع فيها متحدثين من كوريا الجنوبية والولايات المتحدة الأمريكية والمملكة العربية السعودية لمناقشة أبرز التجارب والممارسات في تطبيق المواصفات القياسية في الثورة الصناعية الرابعة وإيجاد محاور لتعزيز الابتكار في الصناعة
to enhance innovation for societies that is more sustainable. I welcome the representative of the SASO in the Committee of Experts of Artificial Intelligence and Data. If you may start, Dr. Taha.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Rian.
Actually, the messages we see and hear from the High Excellencies, distinguished speaker, guest, presenting how much we are really linked to the standard, and based on especially something repeated challenges, changes. In the fourth industries, we are encountering changes, challenges, and I think it's very important. I heard it from the President Vice. He's highlighting about the freedom to dream. We talk about here freedom to dream. I may link it to an academics essay they call distal imagination. الخيال البعيد. If you want to talk about distal imagination, we need to have a huge number of information, or I say it's a bank of information. Standard itself, it will empower, it will give, provide or bestow this kind of bank information in an organized matter. You may have such huge number of
يكون هناك كم كبير من المعلومات، ولكن إذا لم يكن هناك مؤسسات تحدد هذه المعايير وما تقودك إلى عملية اتخاذ القرار أو ما يسمى باتخاذ القرار التسلسلي سنتحدث عنه لاحقا. ولكن إذا تحدثنا عن تعلم الآلات، عن التعلم العميق وهذه نماذج الذكاء الاصطناعي لا تعمل دون أن تؤخذ خطوة من الأخرى. أشكركم للرسائل التي عنها، وسنتحدث عن الدور المصروفات في التنمية المستدامة في موضوع الجلسة. نحن نواجه تحديات كبيرة، ونحن حاليا نعيش في هذا العالم المتغير، وإنه من أهمية الإمكان أن نجهز أنفسنا لمجابهة هذه التغيرات والتحديات المستقبلية من خلال تحديد أهداف عالمية التي يمكن تحقيقها للوصول إلى إسلام جميع مناحي الحياة. هناك إذا تحدثنا عن جودة الحياة فهناك استدامة لجودة الحياة، ولكن تحدثنا عن التعامل مع الاستدامة ونتحدث عن الاستدامة البيئية وبسبب ذلك فإن أهداف التنمية 17 تم تحديدها من قبل الأمم المتحدة يتم تحقيقها في العام 2030 حتى تتمكن الإنسانية من التقدم لأعلى معايير الاستدامة، والنظر في التحديات البيئية المستقبلية مثل حالة جائحة كورونا. رسالة واضحة أن المعايير ستساعد
17's SDGs, which is a plan 2030, with this kind of coronavirus or this, challenges happen and intermittent, in the movement of execution. Standards have an important role in empowering sectors that work to achieve these goals, which is true. The topic of this session, with the participation of local and international speakers, focused on the role of standard in promoting sustainable development, with a focus on goals related to industry and innovations, such as the role of standard in the publication of the fourth industrial revolution to help the industry to be more innovative and sustainable. In addition to the role of standard in developing more sustainable product, as it is indicated in SDG 9, which is industry, innovation, and infrastructure, as well as discussion the concept of smart cities and how to develop standards to serve this trend, which is SDG 11, sustainable cities and communities. Of course, we will have at the end of this session, the main session will have a couple of questions I'm expecting, because of the subject is so interested subject, because we are living with this subject in the fourth. And this main session, it does have 3 topics. The first topic called Standard as Enabler for Smart City Application and the Promotion of Sustainability. The speaker of the first topic is Professor Yang Jo Jean, from Elijah University, and he's a member of ISO TC 268 Committee on Smart City. Professor Young, he has participated effectively in developing standard in smart cities and head of delegation of Korea at the meeting of ISO TC 260, as we mentioned, representing the Korea agencies, Standard and Technology, KATS. Let us welcome the professors and hand over the mic to him to delve into the subject and gain and attain a knowledge from him based on his experience. Welcome.
Hello, can you hear me?
We hear you. You can start, please.
Yeah, thank you. Hello.
Thank you.
Yeah, my name is Yong-Gyu Jeong, working as a professor at Ulji University in Korea. Also responsible for the smart city field at CATS, a Korean standard government organization. First, let's look at the city's problems. So many people are crowding to cities to use convenient infrastructure, which has created various problems. We need to understand the different views of UN, ISO, and IEC. Also different ways to solve this. In Korea, the terms of smart cities defined by national law. The purpose of smart city is defined as the improvement of cities' competitiveness and quality of life based on urban infrastructure. And in the meantime, each standardization organization has created to solve these smart city problems. I will introduce the representative standardization organizations. ISO, IEC, JTC1, and ITUT have been preparing in advance for smart city standardization since 2013. As a result of these activities, 4 international standardization groups were newly established, or their laws adjusted from 2016. ISO, IEC, JTC1, and ITUT have been making advanced preparation for smart city standardization since 2013. Details are on screen. A lot of international standards have been developed. We can divide into 3 levels of smart city standards, which are strategic, process, and the technical level. Which areas dealing with the problem of smart city. Therefore, smart city standardization groups mainly perform to integrated various urban infrastructure and service areas. Now let's take a look at ISO TC 268. First, the organization. ISO TC 268 was established in 2012 and has been developing standards to promote sustainable development for cities and communities. Such as requirements, construction, operation, management guidelines, metrics, infrastructure integration, transport, etc. Currently, 15 standards have been developed or under development, and 70 countries are participating. We are developing standards by division. Let's look at task group and working groups. And the subcommittee is mainly to solve urban programs by technology and product. The subcommittee is very active in standardization and has working groups. Smart cities in particular require mutual cooperation with other technical committees. Therefore, liaison's activities are diverse and come and go from various fields. Next, we will look at the standard developed in ISO TC 268. Working groups are formed to develop management standard, city indicators, and so on. In the subcommittee, they are in charge of city infrastructures. In the subcommittee, they have so many working groups and standards. Next, look at the meeting and this process for standardization. The standardization process is usually taking over 3 years, following the 6 steps of proposal, preparation, committee, inquiry, approval, and publication. Now I introduce several activities related Korean experience. The 3 types of smart city evaluation indicators, which are strategic and leadership, process and management. Technical indicators, they are to quantify, evaluate, and manage the city services and the quality of life of a smart city in a standard way. Now, I would like to introduce Korean activities. In Korea, standards to be applied to various smart cities have been reviewed. Sejong, Daegu, Goyang, and Hwasong City have been certified in cooperation with BSI. A standard-based smart city construction and operation plan is in progress. In particular, BSI is developing a project to apply it to cities in various countries, and accordingly, many cooperative projects are underway in Korea. ISO 37120 is the world's first international standard for sustainable city indicators, using 100 globally comparable indicators for city services and the quality of life. The World Urban Data Association, which they are organizing, was established in 2014 and operates this new standard. The 37120 certification will enable cities to build smarter, more sustainable, and more resilient cities. Moreover, with high quality, internationally certified data, cities can share knowledge with cities around the world through transparency between cities. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, professors, for this presentations. Nice to hear that we have standards and ISO about these sustainable cities, because of smart cities is also in the standard of UL. And the things that I would like to just comment in the presentation, since the Korean participated in the indicators and in the metrics, if I can say, in the presentation, which is very important now, the standard playing a big role in helping algorithms, programming and AI. If we talk about the smart cities, talking about the fourth revolution, so we need to have some indicators, we need to have metrics in order to program it for to automate monitoring, assessment, measuring of the performance, which is very important in this time of challenges, because we need to really simplify, the standards, and how to simplify it is to automate the standards. ISO themselves also, they are running or in the process to automate most of the standard, all the standards they plan, and we came to know, and the next steps, I think not yet, I'm not that much aware of that, but I know that they are planning in the automating the standard to make things easy. Thank you very much, professors, and we will come to the second topic, which is the application of standard in the fourth industrial resolution. The speaker, Mr. Michael, Chief Engineer, Standard Service Division in IST. The titles, the fourth industrial revolution and the standard. The bio for Mr. Michael Taylor is he's a mechanical engineer and the project manager in the Extension Services Division in NIST Manufacturing Extension Partnership Program. His broad manufacturing background spans small to large production facilities in manufacturing engineering, advanced process development, product development, and test engineer capacity. He also worked over 5 years with the U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission development, consumer product standards, as well as performing conformance testing. His focus at NIST MEB is advanced manufacturing technology and industry he facilitated the MEP National Network Industry Fourth Working Group and received his PS in mechanical engineering from the University of New Haven and professional master degree in project management from the George Washington University. It's an interesting subject, and I'm expecting to learn more with the presentations. You have 10 minutes, Mr. Michael, and the mic with you, and please have the space with you now.
All right, thank you very much. So I just want to emphasize too, I'm with the Manufacturing Extension Partnership Program of NIST, and what we help do is provide resources to small and medium-sized manufacturers throughout the United States. There we go. So just a brief history on our industrial revolutions that we've seen. Started out in the 1700s with Industry 1.0, with mechanization, water power, and steam power. Then moving to 2.0 with the mass production and the assembly line and introduction of electricity. And then Industry 3.0, which we're much aware of, using computers and automation and electronics extensively. And now we get to Industry 4.0. And just a little more background. It's an era of smart machines, storage systems, and production facilities that can autonomously exchange information, trigger actions, and control each other without human intervention. So this exchange of information is made possible with the industrial Internet of Things as we know it today. And key elements of Industry 4.0 include cyber-physical systems, which is a mechanical device that is run by computer-based algorithms. The Internet of Things, interconnected networks of machines, machine devices and vehicles embedded with computerized sensing, scanning, and monitoring capabilities. Cloud computing, providing off-site network hosting and data backup. And cognitive computing, technological platforms that employ artificial intelligence. Okay, and this next slide just shows, oh, excuse me, I'm going a little too fast. So before we move on, we want to make sure we have a very good understanding of the definition of Industry 4.0, and it refers to the fourth industrial revolution, which connects machines, people, and physical assets into an integrated digital ecosystem that seamlessly generates, analyzes, and communicates data, and sometimes takes actions based on that data without the need for human intervention. So when computers were introduced in Industry 3.0, it was a disruptive thanks to the addition of entirely new technology. So now and into the future, as Industry 4.0 unfolds, computers are connected and communicate with one another to ultimately make decisions without human involvement. So a combination of cyber-physical systems, the Internet of Things, and the Internet of Systems makes Industry 4.0 possible. It makes the smart factory a reality. And as a result of the support of smart machines that keep getting smarter as they get access to more data, our factories will become more efficient and productive and less wasteful. Ultimately, it's the network of these machines that are digitally connected with one another and create and share information that results in the true power of Industry 4.0. So this slide just shows the 9 pretty common technologies that are considered Industry 4.0, and I was very happy to read in Sasso's strategic paper that several of these will be considered for future priorities, that being information technology, artificial intelligence, augmented reality, data handling, cybersecurity, Internet of Things, and Industry 4.0. So let's see what Industry 4.0 looks like in action. So here's a look at I4O in action on the production line. So if you follow the graphic from the top left, manufacturers get customer feedback in the form of data that they can act upon, diverting supplier streams or material purchases. Modeling, simulation, and analysis tools allow for troubleshooting in advance and automated in-process adjustments. On the factory floor, equipment's linked by sensors that can measure operating conditions and make adjustments when parameters are suboptimal, supply information on maintenance needed and timing, adjust and adapt production to coated materials coming through the system. You see humans working alongside collaborative robots, and they're free from repetitive or labor-intensive tasks. Production can be done closer to the customer and in smaller customized batches via additive manufacturing. And shippers can send alerts regarding capacity and scheduling, and work automatically readjusted and rerouted. Customers receive goods that can accept and send information about the usage and maintenance requirements. So the 2 aspects I wanted to talk about as well, and I'm very happy that they were already mentioned, are security and interoperability. So as you consider new and improved standards within Industry 4.0, I think these are 2 aspects to keep front of mind We see standards associated with some of these individual technologies, but looking at Industry 4.0 holistically, these are two very important parameters. So the first being security. We're all very familiar with IT, information technology, and the data associated with that. What you get with Industry 4.0 now is operating technology. So these cyber physical systems are now connected, and which it makes them vulnerable to malicious cyber attacks. And the data associated with those, as we mentioned, the power of Industry 4.0 just comes with that consumption of data, and more machines and more systems become smarter with the more data that they consume. We're very happy to report that NIST SP 853 is being considered for ISO adoption, and this helps provide some of that groundwork and that foundational security practices to keep systems safe for the small and medium-sized manufacturers. This is very important because we're talking about manufacturers that don't necessarily have the resources in-house to monitor and perform all the security checks. So as we think of standards setting a level playing field, security is a big concern for Industry 4.0 systems and technology moving forward. So interoperability, as we heard mentioned earlier this morning, physical assets that are all different technologies are now being connected together and expected to communicate together in order to optimize that production floor, as we saw in the graphic before. So this interoperability is a big concern because each machine now is producing and consuming all sorts of data, and it's very important to ensure that the different machines down the production line can communicate efficiently. That software and data is very important in optimizing and reducing the waste on the factory floor. The biggest example of this is in artificial intelligence, where we hear the majority of the time associated with AI is not just developing the algorithms and the models, but it's actually cleaning the data to feed to the models in order to get that optimized performance of the artificial intelligence. So these are things to keep in mind as we see systems and physical assets increasing communications and expected to collaborate in producing goods and services. And this is especially important for that small and medium-sized manufacturer because they do not have the time or resources to consume any unplanned downtime with their level of involvement, providing systems and subparts for bigger manufacturers or tier 1 suppliers. Okay, so I just wanted to say thank you again for your attention. Please, my information is on the screen. Don't hesitate to reach out if you have any other questions about Industry 4.0. And I look forward to the discussion period today.
Thank you very much, Mr. Michael, for this informative information and showing how progress the industrials revolution started till we end up with the fourth. As we know, the fourth industrial revolution started the year 2011 by initiative from government of Germany, and some highlighting we are on the edge or the end edge of this revolution, and we may come soon to the fifth. Sometimes it's written in the papers and in the discussions, because you know how progress we are moving from fourth to fifth, because we started with machine learning and now we are moving more deep in deep learning, and the fifth revolution, it will merge the human with more emerging for human with machine in the artificial intelligence or in the intelligence. Thank you very much. We are now reaching to the second, the second speaker in the second topic, which is by Mr. Riyadh Alim, the subject or the paper title, The Importance of Digital Transformation for the Industrial Sector. Let me introduce Mr. Engineer Alim. He's KFUBM graduated in 1999 in Applied Mechanical Engineering, having 21 years in experience in FMCSG and packaging field with the global companies and experience in plants and manufacturing management, supply chain, optimization and manufacturing excellence. Of course, the manufacturing plants now they are running with digitals, automated, and I'm glad or I'm so interested to hear more and more about the experience in Saudi Arabia and specifically about Al Ubaikan. And Mr. Engineer Alim, the mic with you, and please start. Thank you. You have 10 minutes to finish. I will, inshallah, before that one. I know the time is tight, but you may capture whatever missing in the discussion if we are coming in. We have enough time in the discussion, inshallah. Thank you.
Inshallah. Thank you. Taykum al-afia. Bismillah, salatu salam ala rasulullah. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I'm really happy to present today on behalf of our CEO, Engineer Abdullah Al Ubaikan. So in general, Ubaikan Group has started the digital transformation using a 4-step strategy: getting organized, then getting connected to the cloud, and then getting insights from the machine, and then getting optimized to our supply chain. So this actually was the steps that we have taken in the Ubaikan Group in order to move forward with our digital transformation journey. Okay, so just getting the control here. Something is not working. Thank you. So I'm sorry, the control is not given to me to the slide. Oh, yes, thank you. So before I go further, I'll have to go over the slides quickly just to manage the time. So from the first step, we managed actually to do in the last 10 years a different experience in Ubaikan. So usually when you talk about revolution in Industry 4.0, you think about connectivity and IT work. What we have done in Ubaikan is actually use our experience as experts in manufacturing, in HR, in utilities to build our system using manufacturing people and using the IT guys as in their back to create the profile of the systems that we have implemented. Sorry, and we had actually created a portfolio of strategy, a complete ecosystem based on 3 system layers. So the first one is a system of records. As we mentioned, you cannot go to a full digitalization in Industry 4.0 without having yourself organized, having the right system in place. And to help manufacturing, either small or medium or even large ones, to really get organized, we created an ecosystem for system of records from something called SANID. SANID means in Arabic supporting. So it's from HR and finance, and even something called Mizan for assessment tool that can help you know where you are from organization point of view. Okay. The system of operation comes after that. Once you get organized, here we created a manufacturing excellence based from people from manufacturing. So they tell us what they want to see, what will make their life easier after we connect the machines and get the insights from the machine themselves. Okay, which created the O3 manufacturing, the Madar for the supply chain logistics, where we connect also through the cloud system, a SaaS module where we can always have a control of the logistics flowing back and forth between different systems and manufacturing sites. And then we went to a system of prediction. After, of course, you have this kind of a setup, and then you go for something like SANID utility and supply chain. I'm going to share with the team today 2 examples. I'll focus on Shamil, which is, I think, a brand new idea, and it's a little bit fun to watch as well. And also I have SANID utilities as one of the success models that we have here in Ubaikan. Okay. So this is quickly, I think this is related to the government, to the companies, to the country's vision of having a digital transformation in the private sector. So if I go to Shamil, of course, manufacturing people who know what I'm talking about, we have here in Saudi Arabia around $20 billion worth of NPI, non-performing inventory in our spare parts inventories. So either frozen, unused, as you can see the percentage below, or slow moving. Any manufacturing site, you can ask them, this is one of the biggest pains. They have their own systems alone, and they suffer from a lot of pain. One of them is that getting the right parts in the right time, or having parts that they ordered some time ago and they're sitting there on the shelf not being used, which is frozen cash for them. So what we do is we actually targeted this area by creating a marketplace, a website. You can even access it as we speak, called shamilpro.com. You just go inside, you can see there you can post your spare parts on it. And then this is the beauty about Shamil, is that we qualify the sellers, so we get their ERP systems to really contribute. So you can search by many types of searching, similar that you do on Amazon or eBay or any other of these websites. This enables you to find the part faster, because many of the times, if you're asking manufacturing, the part is actually existing in the site right beside you, and you don't know because they have a different system than you or different company than you. But maybe you have a part that you can wait 2 weeks and your lines are down for 2 weeks, and the part is just sitting right beside the corner 2 hours away from you. This kind of solution is really working. We are starting to see a lot of people approaching us. 20 million Saudi riyals worth of inventory has been already posted on the website. We even integrated the technology of 3D printing on it. So not only can we provide you with parts, we can also 3D print them. Today we have the polymer, and we have the ability to expand to other areas. So just to give you a flavor, this is the website. It's actually up and running. You can see it here. We had actually Brazil people accessing us and asking for parts from Saudi. I don't know why, but we're looking into that. But this is an example of some of the companies that we are having, how we post our product. You can put a bearing with a certain specification. You get it, and it tells you where it is existing. Is it close to you, outside of you? And it's not related to that. You want to buy it, you just click it, get it in your market space, buy it. It goes to the company that's selling it with their book value, and then they give you the part, and it's shipped to a third-party logistics company, which is Aramex, basically. And you can see we have some 3D printing examples already tested here, already printed. We managed to reduce, just an example, a lead time from 2 weeks to 2 hours. Imagine you have the part, it takes you 2 weeks, you get it from somewhere, you get it in 2 hours, okay? This is some of the examples that Shamil brought to the table, and it is already working on it. For the other system of prediction is Standard Utility, which is another success story implemented in several facilities in Saudi as we speak, and expanding very rapidly. If you ask any company in the world, utilities is usually a system that is ignored by all manufacturing in any facility. Nobody looks at the utilities, despite it contributes hugely to your losses, to your power consumption, to your sustainability program. Everything goes under that point. So we created actually a connectivity point where I have an application that is existing on mobile phones, existing on a website, whatever you like, called Standard Utilities. You connect your machines to the cloud, and then you start getting insights on your machine. I'm trying to go as fast as we can. And we addressed here the point of, as you know, some of the utilities items are very capital intensive. So you spend a lot of money and cash to get the parts. Okay, so when they fail, they really hit you hard. Okay, it gives you also a 24/7 alarm. We have an artificial intelligence that actually anticipate failures before it happens, and can be connected to other ecosystem to even order parts. That's the level of example that you have, and this is an example of a website that we are using now, and it's in our control room in Ubaikan. Almost all Ubaikan companies are connected here. 20 factories already been connected. We are now branched to other fields like hospitals, like restaurants, where, you know, in restaurants, for example, if you lose the power on the refrigerator, you lose a lot of your inventory and a lot of spoiled meat. They do face problems, penalties from the government when it comes to the health sector if they don't find them adhering to certain cooling situation for their food and ingredients. SARI provide them with insights, and not only now early warning of a potential issue to make them avoid this kind of a situation. So this kind of a system is already in place, already gaining a lot of traction with us, and it's also part of our revolution in our digital transformation ecosystem. The beauty about it can be connected to your ERP system, or can replace an existing system that you have, or even can be used at any kind of field and flexibility, simply because it's a cloud-based SaaS module that is using here. Okay, I know it might, I'm trying to cover most of it, but this is an example that we have seen in our facilities. We managed to improve our OEE by 30%, reduce our expenses in maintenance costs by 20%, OPEX spending by 20%, as well as CapEx, and reduced our manufacturing power consumption by 15% in our facilities, okay? And this was one of the big beauty points, improving the adherence to the global requirements and our strategy by 40%. We got the same number from the restaurants, where they have now avoided the amount of MPI because of breakdowns of their cooling system. And this is something that we are proud of and proud to share. And this is, by the way, fully developed by the American group, by our own resources, by our own experts. And now it's being used by many facilities and other companies here in Saudi Arabia. Thank you for your time. I'll not take too long. We can leave any more points for the discussion point later on. Again, appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Engineer Riyadh, for this presentation. And before I comment on I would like to remind the audience there is an email for questions, for any clarification. The email to send to your questions, it is start with 5th.saso, S-A-S-O, at saso.gov.sa. Again, 5th.saso at saso.gov.sa. I will remind you again, number 5. It is not 5, number 5, TH, that means fifth. 5th.saso at saso.gov.sa. Thank you very much. The subject from Mr. Riyadh attract me actually, especially if he talk about the sand and the utilities, and if we talk about the importance of digital transformation for the industrial sector, we have to talk actually for the how we relate those things, the industrial relate the digital transformation with the standards. As I mentioned in the beginning, the standards now, if we talk about smart cities standards, innovation standards, now I am working with, we are talking about creating metrics and indicators. And those metrics and indicators will help to digitalize, and with algorithm to program algorithm, all the activities required to monitor, to assess the performance. And along with the huge number of information, you need to have some indicator and others. Another things related to the industrial sector, we talk about digitalization. What about the intelligence of leaders? We need to create a leader that they are capable to able to handle this new, intelligence AI. And we need to think about the theory, they call it theory of mind, which is related or part of social cognition. Why I'm saying like that? This is very important to build the leader to know more about social cognition, about the emotional intelligence, to know some about the humans around him, in order to move forward the sector with him, without any much challenges. That's what I would like to highlight, and how we link this, the digitalization with the standard, because standard will help. Now, as I mentioned in the beginning, the standards is going to be automated. It will guide him step by step if we talk about the sequential decision making. And not only this one, there is something called decision equity. وهو الاتخاذ القرار الحاد. Why I'm saying decision equity? Because decision equity, you need to decide with a trust. You know what you are deciding. And how you decide, you need to have such organizing method. Again, we reach to the third topic, which is the end of the main session. The title, the role of standard in promoting innovation in the industry for more sustainable products. The speaker, Dr. Cadal Hajiri, Senior Advisor at the Industrial Development Center, is his paper, Standard and their role in development and more sustainable product. Dr. Khalid Al-Hajri, I know him since a long time ago in SABIC, and I used to work with him, and I know him, and he is a really chief advisor, as in the bio. Khalid Al-Hajri, Dr. Khalid Al-Hajri is a chief advisor at the National Center for Industrial Development, with an industry and research experience spanning 20 years in the iron and steel field. Dr. Khalid set out the field in the field of entrepreneurship through through his role in leading SABIC Innovation Home as part of the local content units that aim to localize technology and create an attractive environment for investment in the field of energy, building technologies, and smart home applications. In addition to advanced material, Dr. Khalid is a mechanical engineer with master's degree in metallurgy from the University of Sheffield, UK, and PhD in material science and engineering from the University of Pittsburgh, US. He held research and managerial position in the iron and steel industry before moving to construction technologies and the business world through the Home of Innovation, and his current role in the Ministry of Industry and Mineral Resources he deserves.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Zuhair, for the introduction. And also I would like to thank SASO for inviting me for this event. طبعا from Dr. Zuhair's introduction, it's clear that I'm going to talk about steel industry. What I'm going to talk about actually, the standard out and their rules actually in building sustainable products. Now I'm talking about my role in the National Center for Industrial Development. In the center here, we are looking for 10 clusters or 10 type of industries. Talk about automotive, petrochemical, pharma, food, aviation, renewable energy, machinery, but we are actually the area where I'm concerning more about metals and building materials. And when we talk about sustainable products, especially when we talk about cities expansions that's going to happen, we are talking about metals specifically. I'm not going to talk about how we are handling the ecosystem for industry here in the National Center for Industrial Development, because I think it's out of the subject today. We are going to focus about how the standards help us producing sustainable products. In the area where we are discussing here, talking about the building materials and the standard, the importance of the standard building material. First, the industry itself is huge. Not only in Saudi Arabia, it's all over the world. It's a huge industry. There is so many standards should be involved here. And we are going to take practical examples for 3 standards adopted by SASO. So we are concerned about cement, steel, aluminum, glass, dimensional stone, but I'm going to focus definitely about steel because it's my old career. And when we talk about these sustainable products, especially when we talk about steel and we'll talk these goals, we are going to focus on goal 9 and goal 11, that talking about cities, and we'd like to improve the infrastructure for industry and for the people. People move to cities. We would like to change the way we are building the cities and infrastructure, make it more sustainable. Based on that, I'm going to focus on the main things, which is steel. Can you imagine your day without steel? And we are using steel, from the hour we wake up till we sleep. No day that will go without using steel. It's all around us. Based on that, we need standard for this application and for these equipments which we are using every day. Just to give a quick overview about steel. Steel, we are producing almost 2 billion tons annually of the steel. China producing almost 60% of this quantity. It's a huge quantity. Each day we can build more than 650 Eiffel Tower. So you can imagine how big the amount of steel we are producing, not only for construction, we are good for automotive, for so many applications we are producing steel. But just to imagine how it's important and how standard is important. Also, another thing for sustainability, steel is 100% recyclable. So now the piece of steel in your car, tomorrow maybe it's rebar in your home, day after tomorrow maybe it's in your your laptop or in any other device that you are using. So it's 100% recyclable. So now I'm talking about 3 main standards that we used already or adapt. And I worked actually with SASO for the last 5 or 6 years when I was part of Hadid company to adapt those standards. I'm going to talk one about the rebars, which we are using in construction, especially specification code 706, that for seismic application. And another 2 standards we are using for color-coated materials and also galvanized material. And also we are going to talk how this development and adapting this standard help us to have sustainable products and also improve the infrastructure. Let me talk about the, why is that moving? Yeah, talking about the seismic application, Zalazil. We have a standard for the rebar that we are using in construction with 615, ASTM 615, and it's adopted by SASO actually in 2000, maybe 15. Before that, there was a standard for rebars. It's called SASO 1992/2. Right. When we talk about the earthquake, this one happened in San Francisco like 100 years ago. It destroyed almost all the city. 80% of infrastructure destroyed. The magnitude of this earthquake was almost 8. Based on that, the seismic regulation took place, and people start building the material based on the seismic codes or the building codes. We, after 100 years, almost, or 80 years, things happened there. Another earthquake, it was almost the same magnitude, 7 Richter magnitude, and it's happened very close to San Francisco, but you can imagine the difference. Now the damage which happened 100 years ago, and now the damage, limited damage for infrastructure. Still, there is a losses in life, but limited damage infrastructure. In 2010 in Haiti, another earthquake came with the same magnitude, but it destroyed the country completely. Now, what we are talking of, giving this example, that we can tell you, there is a material that we are using for earthquake application or seismic application. We already have this standard Saudi Arabia in 2015, adopted by SASO. Why? Because actually there is some requirements came from projects, governmental projects in the Western Coast. There is some active seismic application there. So we adopt this, or SASO adopt this standards, and we start implementing, and we use this steel actually in Al-Haram, Mecca project, and different other different projects, especially in Jizan, used by Aramco. Okay, now let's talk about another one. When we talk about zinc-coated and color-coated material, we are using this sheets a lot around us, which is zinc-coated material, or zinc-coated then the color-coated on top of it. We have actually some issues. We found it there. When we have the zinc coating, sometimes there is no standard for that. There may be 0 gram per meter square, only the color on top of it. But we adapt a standard that maintain minimum amount of zinc in this coating, and also the paint thickness. It was on the standard not written there, but also we adapt and modify the standard to have limited or to have minimum amount of coating there, plus the lead in paint. It's actually poisoning. There was nothing in the standard before, but we adapt the new version of standard and we add something to it. So by the way, it's the poisoning of the lead is causing more than 500,000 case annually, and the death is more than 120,000 or 140,000 annually. So it's serious issue for the human being, especially when we talk about the kids, the paints and the products that they are used by kids. That's usually affecting. And now the standard that it's not allowed to have lead in the paint for these products. Right, let us talk about these two standards. This standard is the M653. It's about zinc coating material. The new requirement and the standard, actually SASO adopted this standard in 2015, but after the modification there, or the new requirement, that the zinc, the lead in the zinc should not exceed 90 ppm. That's for the poisoning. But there was nothing talking about the mass of the coating, because if the coating of the zinc is small or less than 60 gram per meter square, that's mean the corrosion for the material is not, the resistance for corrosion is not going to be good. No minimum lead in the zinc, and also no product mark. There is no marks in the product. We adapt in SASO this standard, and based on that, we add our requirements based on the market and also manufacturing in the kingdom. So we take this lead issue. And also about zinc coating, it should not be less than 60 grams per meter square when you go to the normal standard. Dr. Zauri, you are talking more than us. Okay, so when you talk about this, the zinc coating, so there is we accept 60 gram per meter square, and also the mandatory marking. The same things we are doing for the color coated material. We accept the 755 standard, but also we add some requirement based on the local market. So I give these 3 examples actually, seismic and color coded material, how we implement standard internally and adapt these standards, we implement it internally to have sustainable products. So sustainable development, we have assured the quality, and also we take care about the health of the people. So thank you for SCASO for adapting those standards, and also for listening to the manufacturer, and also for the market to see how we can implement such a standard. Thank you very much. Shukran, Dr. Zahir. Thank you, everyone.
Shukran. Thank you very much, Dr. Khalid. Actually, you highlight your highlight with very important subject, because related to quality, the message came from higher excellencies about how to assure the high quality of products, how safe, how for the consumer to be sure that it's safe for them. This is the main things. And as you mentioned about the now we are coming to the questions, and I have one questions now in front of me to Mr. Michael. The question came from Uday Al-Buhamad. His questions, what is the criteria and standard for human interventions to take place when machines and AI act insensibly as from engineering ethics perspective, machine and robotic and specific environment and certain times cannot make the human judgment. That means in brackets, human perception is beyond robotic machine algorithm. Please.
All right, thank you for that question. To directly answer the question, there is no formal standard regarding this particular situation that you described, but where it is taken into account is during the adoption of that technology for a specific task or place on the production line. If you're talking about a cobot situation working next to a human and interacting with the human on the production line, these are taken into account in the implementation phase to ensure that the human is comfortable working with that robot, that there are no safety concerns. With the cobots these days, the sensors that are built in, there's much less of a chance of serious injury occurring with working next to the human. But to directly answer your question, there is no formal standard guiding that. And that's where, as we move forward into more and more adoption of these technologies, we'll be looking for more guidance from a standards perspective. But right now it's handled at the implementation phase with the host and the worker and the implementer.
Thank you very much, Michael. But allow me to add just little. You mentioned we don't have direct standard. Maybe you're sure, but there is indirect standard by ISO, IEC, GTCI, 1SC, 42AI. They are started to create standards for ethics, for other, for machine learning, for management, for so many things like that. They have around more than 30 standards in the processing. But of course, standard will not be direct to tell you something like that, but at least to guide you. If you have such a standard, that will guide you to being safe. And as we mentioned in the beginning, and as we know that the fourth revolution is progressing robust movement actually in this. And even the standard that might face, encounter a big challenges to pursue, I mean, to capture what is moving from, I mean, in the processing. I agree with you. Till now, there is no direct. We may have indirect based on the, I mean, how to handle the subject. And the lift, it will be kept with the manufacturers, how they are working honestly in the robots and others to that. So, you know, and another issue is the privacy also. If we talk about that one, if we talk about the AI, we talk about privacy, ethics. There is I think, in the process for ethics standards in the AI. But from my, I mean, part of, as far as part of the expert in the creation of the standard in AI and ISO, I recommend and highly recommend in this standards, the updating not to be 4 years, it should be in every 2 years, because it's moving, robust, so that we can capture the changes, the challenges, if I am right. You know, as you know, with something related to if we talk about the Internet of Things, and now we are reaching to the Internet of all things, not only things, because of movement. Now medical coming in the picture and the AI. They call it sometimes the intelligence internet, because of Internet of all things, not Internet of things. And that's even Cisco, they remark it in this way, because, you know, so many industries, so many modifications, so many involvement in the things in the revolution, fourth revolution. Thank you very much for the questions and for the answer. And let me see if we have another more questions, or we will come to the end of the session if we don't. And the audience, they can send us in the chat. If they have such questions, they can write it in the chat if possible. And still time we have another 5 minutes to end up our main session. And the audience, the participant, if they have something to add, our speakers, they are ready, I think, and they could answer the questions that related to the smart cities, fourth industrial digitalizations, standard related to the more sustainable products. And we talk people there, I'd like to highlight about before end up the main session, very important, the sustainability is related to 17th SDGs, Sustainability Development Goals. And it's very important to focus on those goals. Also, this is a governmental target. It's not only sectors to have. The governmental, each government, they, committed to participate. شكرا جزيلا. We end up with the main session, and we really gain a lot of information from the four, speakers representing the, the titles, of the forum, and I'd like to thank all participants with us, speakers, guests, and in the beginning, I'd like to thank High Excellencies, the ministers, and the governor, and their messages. It was very, direct messages to us to challenge for the change and to make changes. I will hand over the mic to Wiam, and please have it. Thank you very much.
شكرا دكتور زهير. إذن شكرا دكتور زهير الطه، والشكر أيضا موصول لجميع المتحدثين في هذه الجلسة الثرية ومشاركتنا أبرز التجارب المحلية والدولية وأفضل الممارسات الناتجة عن تطبيق المواصفات القياسية لصناعة أكثر استدامة ورؤية مشتركة لعالم أفضل كما هو شعار ملتقانا. حفلنا الكريم ننتقل الآن لورشتين العمل المصاحبتين لفعاليات هذا الملتقى. الورشة الأولى نستعرض خلالها تجارب دولية ومحلية لدور المواصفات القياسية في دعم المنشآت الصغيرة والمتوسطة. يشاركنا فيها السيد جي روي شاودهاري نائب المدير العام لتقييس مكتب المواصفات الهندية بورقة عمل عن تجربة الهند في تمكين المنشآت الصغيرة والمتوسطة من خلال المواصفات القياسية. Welcome, Mr. Roy. The mic to you.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I hope I'm audible.
Excuse me?
Am I audible? Are you hear me clear?
Yes, you can carry on.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks a lot. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed my pleasure to be here amongst you to share my experience and the Indian perspective on the subject of today's workshop, which is on the role of standards in supporting and sustaining small and medium enterprises. So at the outset, I thank SASO for giving me this opportunity. To move ahead in sharing some of the experiences that we in India have been having when we were dealing with the SMEs in particular and implementation of standards by them. Standards, as we all know, support economic activities in multiple ways, and some of these have been listed out on the slide. It starts with building process efficiencies to increasing productivity, enhancing quality of products and services, to being cost effective, to accessing markets and fostering trade, and more increasingly, we are seeing standards helping in the uptake of new technologies and fostering innovations. So to sort of have insight into what sort of impact that standards can have on the economy, the contribution to the economic growth has been the focus of studies across the world in many countries, and particularly in the developing world. And many of such studies have taken place over the years in countries like the US, in countries like Germany, France, Canada, Australia, and many more. And which have clearly shown that standards and the economy have direct linkages. And if you look at the slide, unfortunately, yeah, thank you. If you look at this slide, this reflects upon some of the findings which came out of a study which was very recently conducted by BSI, the British Standards Institution in UK, which clearly revealed that standards contribute to over 28% of the GDP growth in UK and to over 37% of the annual productivity. So we see the impact and the intensity of impact of standards on the economy. And SMEs, as we all know, are vital drivers of economic growth. and they play a vital role in the overall production network, be it manufacturing or services in any country. And this slide amply brings out the fact of the contribution that the SMEs make in global economy. And also, if we look at the Indian scenario, the immense impact that SMEs can have and are having on the economy is quite amply brought out. But as standards have a significant role in the overall economic growth, it is but obvious that standards play a key role in the success story of SMEs also. There are a number of clear and tangible benefits that SMEs have in implementing standards, and these include, in the first place, imbibing some of the best global practices. SMEs are enabled through the use of standards, improving and monitoring quality, rationalizing processes and building process efficiencies, thereby increasing productivity and reducing costs. And all these lead to their ability to demonstrate conformance to quality and building the customer confidence which is required for accessing markets and taking this competitive advantage. But everything is not rosy, so to say. SMEs obviously have some challenges and some constraints that come in the way of implementing standards. And these challenges primarily emanate from certain basic issues concerning the lack of awareness of standards and their potential benefits, and issues arising from lack of understanding of how to implement the standards, as well as in the SME's inability to implement the standards, which could arise from various factors, largely because of the absence of resources or the skills and the knowledge that is required to implement standards. And here I think the standards bodies, and in particular the national standards bodies like SASO or BIS, or for that matter any other national standards body, have a very important role to play. In enabling the SMEs to overcome these challenges and obstacles, and to empower them with the ability to understand the importance of standards and implement standards. And there are three key aspects on which standards bodies can work for the benefit of SMEs, and these are: one, raise the awareness on standards and standardization, encourage the use and implementation of standards, and encourage and facilitate the SMEs in participation of standards, because that is a very important aspect, that SMEs need to get involved in standards development and ensure that their views and their concerns get addressed in the standards that have been made, so that it facilitates their ability to implement those standards. So if we try to look at what standards bodies can do in trying to raise the awareness of SMEs about standards and about the benefits of standards, I think there are many things which have been brought out here. And I would just lay some sight into how in India we are trying to address these issues specifically. If we talk of conferences and seminars, we are holding specific subject-specific seminars or standard-specific seminars, often in collaboration with the SMEs and their associations, which details the standards, their objectives, the benefits that can emanate from using those standards. And of course, at the same time, industries which have been implementing standards are asked to share their experiences so that we are able to drive home this point that these standards could be of immense value to the SMEs. Trainings is another very important aspect that we in India approach. While building the capabilities of SMEs, product-specific trainings are conducted through our training institutes for the SME personnel, trainings on sampling and testing, trainings on process control techniques, trainings on applying quality control tools, and of course, trainings on quality management systems, and so on and so forth. And all these trainings, when it comes to SMEs, these are always enabled through discounted rates, so that SMEs can always participate without any difficulty. We always try to help the SMEs in enabling them to understand standards better by issuing guidelines and manuals specific to products, which details out the product requirements in the standards. It details out the manufacturing facilities and the testing facilities which are required. It also provides insights into what sort of controls possibly the SMEs should exercise in their daily production so that they are able to manufacture products in conformance with the standards. Accessibility to information of standards is a very important aspect, and I think it is very important that standards bodies provide the mechanisms and means whereby information of standards are easily accessible to them. In India, the BIS website, if you go and see, we have a search for standards feature, which enables a quick search of standards based on various characteristics, like you can search standards based on the standard number, a keyword of the standard, and then through classification of standards against various sectors and fields. Say, for instance, we have a classification of standards for food and food products, agriculture products and agricultural implements, and building materials, and so on and so forth. We also have a very interesting feature of Know Your Standards, whereby you can have information on the standards, you can access the standard, you can access information on the test facilities which are there in the country against those standards, and many other information. Of course, we also have the work program of each technical committee available in the standards in the website itself. So as you see, we have a lot of mechanisms through which we can create this awareness. The other important area in which standards bodies can help the SMEs is with respect to enabling them to better use the standards. And for this, in India, apart from providing access to information on standards which are published recently published, we have a section on the website which is called the Standards Bulletin, which sort of provides information of the recently published standards and amendments. We also have an interesting section on the website which talks of standards of the week or month, which sort of details out certain specific standards which are important and providing a brief about those standards. We also enable assemblies to access our standards. In fact, all our standards, which are not international publications, are accessible to anyone from the BIS website, free of cost, and these standards can be downloaded again free of cost. So this is something, a facility that we provide, which is of immense use and immense benefit to the SMEs, and goes a long way to facilitate their use of standards. The other important aspect that technical committees also keep in mind while developing standards is to ensure that the language and the content of the standards are kept as simple as possible, so that SMEs don't have difficulties in implementation or interpretation of the standards. And specific to test methods, it is also our endeavor to see to it that if we don't specify very complex or very costly test facilities, and wherever possible, try to have a balance so that it doesn't cause any hindrance to the SMEs in creating those facilities and in complying with the requirements of the standard. So wherever possible, we have test facilities which are simple, which are cost effective, but where it is not possible, we try to have alternate methods specified against more advanced and more complex test facilities, so that it helps the SMEs. We also facilitate implementation of the standards and address issues related to competence and skill of personnel within the SMEs, as I mentioned, through various technical trainings, which I had indicated. But apart from that, we also, in coordination with the government, try and create facilities in specific SME clusters, say, for instance, in the steel cluster, or maybe in the ceramic industries cluster, or in the electrical appliances cluster, create specific test facilities so that these could be utilized by the SMEs at a concessional rate for ensuring or for demonstrative compliance to their products. The last part of what SMEs need to sort of can benefit from is if the standards bodies help them or facilitate their participation in the standardization process. And the first thing that is required here is to generate that interest or create that awareness about what are the standardization processes, how to get involved into standards, how does the standards ecosystem operates, what could be the roles and responsibilities as members of technical committees, how to propose new subjects, how to comment on documents, and how to participate in international standards work. And there are many other issues that we need to apprise and sort of enlighten the SMEs about. To facilitate participation, we in BIS have made provisions where many of the things can be done online, commenting on standards, commenting on draft documents online, making your subject proposals for new standards online, sharing of documents which are open for comments online. We approach specific industry sectors seeking their views and comments on standards on the draft documents that have been set out for seeking comments. The other important thing is facilitating participation is sort of sharing the cost that SMEs may incur in participating both at national and international. And we are working on the possibility of sort of providing limited funds for that purpose. Another interesting thing that we have started very recently is the creation of standardization cells within SME industry associations, which are basically mechanisms through which the SMEs can aggregate and channelize their needs, expectations, and views and concerns on standards to the concerned technical committees. So in a way, it is a mechanism through which the SMEs can put forth their views, which individually they may not be able to do it, but as a whole, as a group of SMEs together through their associations, they are able to better participate and better involved in the standards development. Unfortunately, the slides are not moving, but anyhow, I'll continue with whatever I wanted to share with you. The last aspect on which standards bodies can sort of facilitate is to ensure that the SMEs have the wherewithal in participating and in contributing to standards. So with all these, our experience is that today we have almost on an average 15% of our members in technical committees who are from the SMEs. And in certain sectors, like in the textile sectors where we have predominance of SME industries in the country, the percentage of participation is even much more, to the tune of over 40%. So with all these measures, I think countries across the world can find ways and means of trying to engage with the SMEs better and ensure that standards are implemented by them and they are empowered to implement standards in a better and more effective way. So the key takeaways, what I have from these experiences is that standards are key to growth and competitiveness of SMEs. And there are several challenges that SMEs have in use of standards, and standards bodies need to support them. The trade and industry associations have an important role to play in this and play a role along with the standards bodies in facilitating the process of engaging with the SMEs. And the last and not the least is that there is no uniform solution or there is no solution that can be applied across all sectors of the economy or across all countries, and therefore we have to find our own solutions and innovate while we are trying to do so. So thank you very much. Thanks for patient hearing.
Thank you, Mr. J-Ro Chowdhury, for your informative presentation. And now we welcome Mr. منذر الفراج. ننتقل للأستاذ منذر الآن، مدير السلاسل الإمداد بالهيئة العامة للمنشآت الصغيرة والمتوسطة ليلقي الضوء على دور المواصفات القياسية في دعم المنشآت الصغيرة والمتوسطة واستعراض تجربة خدمة جدير الإلكترونية لتأهيل وتمكين المنشآت الصغيرة والمتوسطة في جميع القطاعات من خلال ربطها بالفرص الشرائية التابعة للقطاعين سواء العام والخاص. فلتتفضل أستاذ منذر.
شكرا جزيلا وئام، الله يعطيكم العافيه جميعا. كل الشكر والتقدير للهيئه العامه الهيئه السعوديه للمواصفات والمقاييس على هذا الملتقى. راح نستعرض دور المواصفات في دعم وتعزيز دور المنشآت الصغيره والمتوسطه من خلال احد النماذج التي اطلقتها الهيئه العامه للمنشآت الصغيره والمتوسطه. راح نستعرض في البدايه ناخذ فكره يعني مبسطه عن دوره المشتريات التي تتم بشكل عام لاي عمليه بيع او شراء او تعاقد تتم في القطاعين العام والخاص. دوره المشتريات تبدا بالمرحله الاولى مرحله التسجيل والتاهيل، ثم تنتقل للمرحله الثانيه مرحله الطرح وعروض الاسعار، ثم المرحله الثالثه التي تنتهي بالتعاقد والتوريد. إذا نظرنا إلى المرحلة الأولى وهي المدخل لدورة هذه المشتريات ولأي مشروع من المشاريع، نجد أنه كل قطاع من القطاعات وكل جهة من الجهات لديها معايير ولديها مواصفات خاصة بها تقوم بتطبيقها على المنشآت الصغيرة والمتوسطة، بحيث أنه يتطلب المنشأة الصغيرة والمتوسطة أن تقوم بعملية التسجيل والتأهيل لدى كل شركة من الشركات الكبيرة أو لدى القطاع العام كل جهة على حدة قبل أن تتم عملية التأهيل وعملية التسجيل. لما ننظر إلى الجهد اللي يتم في المرحلة هذه وإلى نسبة التكرار اللي تمر على المنشآت الصغيرة والمتوسطة في عملية التسجيل وعملية التأهيل، بحيث يقدر المنشأة الصغيرة والمتوسطة القيام بتحقيق مواصفات كل جهة من الجهات، مع أنه معظم هالمواصفات هذه فيها تقاطع كبير جدا بين كل جهة وجهة أخرى، لكن لنا نتصور كم عمليات التدقيق وعمليات التسجيل اللي راح تتم على هالمنشأة هذه من خلال كل مشتري من المشترين. من هالمنطلق هذا خرجت منشآت بخدمة جدير، وهي خدمة إلكترونية قائمة على تسجيل وتأهيل وتمكين المنشآت الصغيرة والمتوسطة من الوصول للفرص الشرائية لدى الشركات الكبرى، وكذلك القطاع العام من خلال تطبيق مواصفات ثابتة ومعايير محددة ومشتركة لدى معظم هذه الجهات. فبنيت خدمة جدير بناء على المواصفات المشتركة لدى معظم هذه الجهات في القطاع الخاص وكذلك القطاع الحكومي، بحيث انه اليوم استطاعت المنشأة الصغيرة والمتوسطة التقدم على خدمة جدير وتحقيق المتطلبات.
So the SMEs can apply for Jadir and after qualification we give the opportunity for this small SMEs to small and medium enterprises to provide their information without having a specific qualification or registration. Therefore, the goals of Jadir, among the most important goals, is to facilitate and expedite the process of SMEs to reach the big companies and to save effort and time and keeping away from the repetitive procedures that usually the SMEs make, and also knowing and identifying the capabilities of the SMEs to raise the level of capacities in the market. Therefore, the small SMEs they can increase the local content and the purchased power As you will aware that the percentage of SMEs in the private sector in general exceeded 99% of the private sector. Therefore, they have the ability of providing many services and many products to the market in general. We go to the concept of a strategy that Jadir based on. Jadir should be a unified standard, an approved standard, accredited standard in the public and private sector, and the also confidentiality in all sectors, and to also help the facilitation and the access of SMEs to and applying the unified standards, and to the access to the purchasing opportunities, and also to apply KPIs as well, and to measure the performance, and also link it to the market and to the purchasing and recruitment departments through the principles and values of based on the best practices in the market. This is an overview, a brief overview of the journey that Jadir service go through for the SMEs to qualify the SMEs and the process of SMEs and registration of SMEs for most of the big companies. Then we go through the auditing and the field visits. Depending on the certain activities, the qualification journey finishes at that. We who is the main partner for is SMEs, for the SMEs, the big companies in the private sector that has the ability of purchasing power, high purchasing power, and the companies in general. Jadir provide also many services and advantages for the SMEs, and it's for the good for the general users. Among the advantages of Jadir is to provide technology solutions for big companies, and to link the recruitment system and the advantage, and to reach the targeted audience, and to select the targeted audience. In addition to this, provide information both in Arabic and in English, and also other services in terms of KPIs and the quality. Jadir has realized many achievements with big companies in the private sector due to the confidence of Jadir. Confidence, big companies by Jadir's confidence. Jadir provides to us over 1,000 SMEs and meeting all the service standards. We have 16 corporations that are using Jadir as a main users: Sabic, STC, Saudi Communication Company, Red Sea, Al Qiddiya, Sibkim Neom, and all the other big companies in the private sector. In addition to this, this is an overview of how we apply one standard, one single standard, and how to unify one single standard. What's the impact for the SMEs, on the SMEs, and how we are saving time and the resources by applying certain standards. One of the important services that Jadid provides is to give guidance that is which is in partnership with the SASU, Saudi Standardization, Metrology and Quality Organization, that through some consultants and advisors, SASU, in SASU, whether in a specific fields that deals with the quality or with the needs of SMEs to raise their quality standards or to unify their standards, or and build a good infrastructure when it comes to standards and metrology and comfortability. This is the impact of standards when it comes to the SMEs. Thank you very much. I conclude. Thank you, Mr. Mundir, for this enriching presentation. نحن وصلنا الكثير من الأسئلة. السؤال الأول هو ما هو دور المنشآت الصغيرة والمتوسطة في مستر جيرو. تحدثت في محاضرتك عن السيناريو الهندي والسيناريو العالمي. هل هناك إضافة
shared with us. So this one for this first question. The second question is, how can we ensure the SME's participation in standards development to help them express their opinion? And as one of Jadir's objectives is to acknowledge the capabilities and activities of SMEs. Mr. Mundir?
Say again, ma'am.
The question is, what are the most prominent aspects of support that the standards can provide to small and medium enterprises?
بكل تأكيد الأدوار مهمة، يعني لما نتكلم عن إيش أدوار المنشآت الصغيرة والمتوسطة وأثرها على يعني الاقتصاد بشكل عام. المنشآت الصغيرة والمتوسطة من أكبر المنشآت التي توفر وتولد العديد من الوظائف وتساعد على توطين العديد من التقنيات ونقل المعرفة، بالإضافة إلى مساهمتها في الاقتصاد من خلال خلق تنافسية كبيرة نتيجة العدد الأكبر والشريحة الكبرى بالمنشآت الصغيرة والمتوسطة بالمنشآت.
Are contributing to the big companies as well. Mr. Jair, السؤال الذي مطروح لك هو ما هو the role.
The benefit of standards. Can you shed more light on this, please?
As I had mentioned, no, so there are many critical aspects of an SME's operation that standards can sort of address. In the first place, standards bring out some of the best practices, well-established practices, and the SMEs can gain from utilizing those practices in their own businesses. And these practices go a long way in increasing their efficiency. They are cutting their costs, reducing their wastes, rationalizing their processes, rationalize the use of their resources, and all these go in building their production efficiencies, in their process capabilities, and ultimately they show in terms of the quality of the products or services that they are delivering. And this is the prime issue on which they are able to sustain in the market and be competitive even to the larger enterprises. So production efficiency, ensuring the quality of the products, and able to supply the products at optimum costs are some of the benefits that they directly derive, which enables them to stay competitive in the market and establish that market presence and the customer confidence.
Great. Now for the last question, آخر سؤال موجه للأستاذ منذر. هل سيتم التعاقد من خلال خدمة جدير عبر الموقع أم يتم التعاقد خارج المنصة؟ بمعنى هل منصة جدير تضمن عملية السداد من قبل المشتري أم منصة جدير مجرد منصة للتواصل مع العملاء والمتحدثين فقط؟
From the purchaser, or جدير is a platform for registration and linking between the SMEs that has the efficiency of implementing projects, or I link it to the recruitment companies, our purchase company, and the contracting takes place outside the platform. وبالتالي we usually the big companies learn about the SMEs through the platform. Therefore, obviously the platform will lead the big companies to this good SMEs. Thank you, Mr. Munder. Thank you, Mr. Jayrol. Thank you, Mr. Munder Faraj, for this profound participation. Now we go to the last but not least workshop of the 5th Forum 2021. The
next workshop will be on circular economy and achieving sustainability. We'll start with Mr. Zaytad for the regional manager for laboratories, and the journey that they go in the standard specification and the circular economy. And if you may start your speech or your presentation. Engineer Tahir, can you hear us? Yes, please. مرحبا بكم جميعا واشكركم على التقديم واشكر ساسو على اطاله.
On the World Standards Day, it is my great pleasure to deliver my speech on UL Standards journey of circular economy development. In this session, we will start by introducing Underwriters Laboratories, talk about how we develop standards, what is circularity, and why UL 3600. We are a 127-year-old global safety science organization. We have been working for a safer world since 1894. However, as humanity progresses, the modern definition of safety evolves. due to digitalization, climate change, and other challenges, our mission became working for a safer, more secure, and sustainable world. I think most of you are familiar and may have seen the red UL mark in a circle on the products. This is the service provided by our affiliate organization, which is one of the leading testing, inspection, and certification bodies. The company that I represent is the non-for-profit organization, which conducts rigorous research on the evolving technologies such as fire safety, chemical safety, battery safety, and many others. We develop standards for safer, secure, and sustainable world. We also spread safety culture through education and outreach. Both organizations share one common mission, which is working for a safer world. UL Standards have also expanded their footprints, and now we have dedicated regional managers around the world, including myself in the MENA region. UL Standards development process adheres to the World Trade Organization's 6 principles for the development of international standards, which are transparency, consensus, openness, coherence, development dimension, and market relevance. All UL standards are freely available to the public around the world and developed as consensus-based standards by voting through balanced participation of all stakeholders. This clearly demonstrates our commitment and support to facilitate international trading system and harmonization of standards and regulations. In addition, we are accredited by American National Standards Institute, ANSI, and the Standards Council of Canada, SCC, to develop US and Canadian national standards. We are also authorized by DGM to develop Mexican national standards. Standards Technical Panel are made up of a balanced group of individuals representing 9 different categories so that various groups and viewpoints are considered. We have volunteers from manufacturers, supply chainers, and others. Here, I just want to highlight that the international delegate can be any individual representing a national standards body such as SASO, where SASO can bring their national perspective so that when the standard is developed, it would become more relevant for the country to adopt it. And UL standards development process is systematic. Ideally, there are 4 phases of the process, starting with the proposal submission, followed by a review, then a global public commenting on the draft, where all comments will be taken into consideration. Lastly, recirculation if there were major changes. Typically, a UL standard development process does not take more than 12 months, which is relatively considered as a short period of time. So, as briefed in my previous slides, we develop standards which are market relevant and for making the new technologies safe, secure, and sustainable. So the big question is, what is circularity? And that is one of the questions that we often get asked about. In order to understand what circularity is, we have to understand that we are living in a complex world where supply chain is complex with multiple inputs going to multiple companies. The whole thing evolves about the way we think of materials. One company's waste is another company's resource. There are no waste, and there shouldn't be any waste. It should be just another resource for another company. Circularity is about the start of a new life by using the end-of-life products and materials. Now that we got to have an idea about circularity, so why do we need a standard? Greenwashing is a great example to answer this question, where everyone overclaimed that they are green. And that is why we need to have circularity standard to avoid greenwashing by companies and to have consistency in measurement. I think all of us agree that what gets measured only gets controlled and improved. It is true in terms of circularity as well. So how do we measure circularity to enhance sustainability? Is it the climate change? Is it the governance, waste diversion? Is it recycling, reusing? What is it? As you can see, there has been a lot of discussions about different terms for how to measure circular economy. It is not just one of these, it is all of them, as everything is interconnected, and this can be measured by scoring, where companies will continuously improve to achieve a higher score. So how can we change our current way of linear thinking and turn it into a circular approach? The traditional way of looking at the life of a product starts by extracting the raw materials, manufacturing the parts and products, distributing it, using it, and then the end of life, which is the disposal of the product. That is the linear take, make, waste approach that has been changing to the circular approach to prolong the lifespan of materials and resources as much as possible by utilizing the several R's, like recycle, reuse, remanufacture, repurpose, before they go to the landfill. It is really just turning around itself. It is turning the disposal into a reuse and recycle back into the manufacturing. Circular economy can be measured at two different levels, which are the facility level and the product level. We have a series of standards supporting different sub-processes like the environmental standards and documents shown on this slide. For example, UL 1974 for the repurposing of lithium-ion batteries, where safety is an important aspect as these batteries are being remanufactured. Okay, so UL 3600 is a framework standard that provides the solution as it supports the measurability and reportability of this framework. UL 3600 aims to combine the various aspects of existing circular measuring elements, while also clearly defining how to measure the circularity of a product and facility. The concept is simple. Have a material to be collected, made into a usable product, serve its purpose, and return to a material to be reused again for a new purpose. And the standard really encourages companies to design that feature into their product. Here's an example of the UL Standards Technical Panel 3600. As you can see, there are members from multiple companies from all around the world representing different organizations, where SABIC, a Saudi Arabian company, is a voting member in this STP. This STP is open for any stakeholder who's interested and would like to provide their inputs. And SASU members are more than welcome to be part of it. I will conclude with the path forward for Saudi Arabia to develop the standard for circular economy. SASU being our partner, they can directly access the standard UL 3600. We can also form a committee where we can facilitate and discuss on the UL 3600 standard. This is one of the ways to quickly study and review the standard and see if there are any country-specific requirements that needs to be addressed. SASU can then adopt the standard to facilitate deployment of sustainable projects. We request SASU to be part of the Standards Technical Panel, STP, not only for 3600, but for every standard to provide their inputs to become a UL SASU standard, which can be adopted in Saudi Arabia. And this is the end of my presentation, and thank you very much for listening.
So شكرا لك مهندس زاهي طاهر على المشاركة المتميزة. في شيء حابب تضيفه مهندس زاهي؟
Anything that you'd like to add?
لا شكرا. Thank you.
Thank you.
اوكي، والآن نستعرض مع الدكتور
with Dr. Qasim Falati, a consultant at the Ministry of Energy, as he reviewed with us the roadmap for the specific for the standard specifications in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. To you, Dr. Qasim, thank you, Sister Wiam. ربما سأتحدث اللغة الإنجليزية وسوف أستغل هذه الفرصة لأشكر الساسو لإعطائنا هذه الفرصة لأنه
comes to the standards roadmap for a circular economy. And it's really my real pleasure to present this as the chair of the technical committee that has been formed recently, only a couple of months ago, to kind of lead the effort. And the good thing is really I'm coming after Zahi and what he has mentioned. So I'll be building on some of what he has put in there with regard to the circular economy concept. Now, okay, do I have full control? Yes, okay. Well, I'll be covering three aspects. One is a little introduction on the circular economy, technical committee, as well as the scope of the activities that we have got, and also shed light on the progress that we have made since the creation of the committee. Now, when it comes to defining a little background about the circular economy, I don't think I need really to spend time on this because Zahi has done a wonderful job in defining it. But it is exactly to the point of what he has said. It is trying really to convert that linear way of handling products and material to introducing some certain circularity at certain stages of the value chain creation of those products. And the circular economy itself is defined as an economic system of a closed loops rather than one single loop, in which raw materials, the component, and the product are utilized to their full potential. So really trying to take advantage of those product and material to the full potential they are made for. Now, for the technical committee that SASO has initiated, and it is kind of with the involvement of many of the stakeholders as being shown at the bottom of the slide, there were two main objectives. The first objective is to create that standard environment to enable local initiatives related to a circular economy. But beyond that, and maybe to the point again mentioned earlier, is to be a part of the world and the whole globe activities related to this new dimension of circular economy, particularly being an active participant to some of international organizations, ISO in particular, and some others that are really active into this domain. And particularly if we talk about national interest, it is focused around developing the standards, adapting some of the international standards, and to enable the realization of some of activities and initiatives related to circular economy. as we have maybe realized from the previous talks that have been talking about the role of the standards. It's a great enabler, without which we won't be able really to realize the full potential of some of these initiatives that are really being presented. Now, for us to get started with activities in the technical committee, we had to try to learn from those that have done it ahead of us. And that is where we kind of conducted some sort of a benchmark and tried to identify what others that are ahead of us leading into the circular economy concept doing. And we find that a prioritization for what to focus on, because the circular economy concept is really very wide. It has lots and lots of areas to be covered. We conducted this kind of analysis, trying to focus on what is most relevant to Saudi Arabia, yet trying to be, I would say, pragmatic in the way we would like to approach it, not only focusing in country-specific, looking at the dimension of a regional as well as a global trends. So seeing what a region as well as the global trends and importance given in the circular economy concept helped us to identify those specific areas. And as you can see from this little heat map, if it is to be considered, we have identified 9 topics, trends, out of which we have given priority to 6 of them. And selection criteria, again, is relevance to what initiatives are happening now in Saudi Arabia. So we would like to enable them, like a recycling effort that is led by the company CERC. The kind of economic value of a circular economy. Is there a way for us to standardize the kind of calculation of that benefit? So these were the rationale for us, relevance to what is happening in Saudi Arabia. Another criteria was to have a mixed topic that will cover a broad interest, and that was very important for us to make sure that we are serving as many as of relevant stakeholders that are working in this domain of a circular economy. With that, we end up out of the 6 that we have put priority for. The decision was made that we would focus into these areas, and as you can see from this slide, putting those relevant stakeholders and a little bit of details on what is being covered under these topics. So the first topic that we focus on is around waste management and recycling. And we also added to it the waste to energy aspect, and relevant stakeholders were the Minister of Energy and what used to be called MOMRA and the company CERC. Under sustainable material and production, we have 2 main stakeholders that are very much relevant. The OSP, Oil Sustainability Program, and Saudi Aramco. And under a circular carbon economy, which is very much specific type, if you wish, of a circular economy, there are certain relevant stakeholders like the Ministry of Energy and circular carbon economy and NEOM. And the economic benefits is an area that is of an interest to all the stakeholders that are involved in this technical committee. Again, putting champions that are working on this and kind of showing a diverse of involved stakeholders. And if we are to kind of shed light on what we have so far achieved, we started with a very broad scanning of what is available on those priority topics in terms of standards. And we found out that SASO has already got actually some standards that are adopted, which will cover circular economy. And there are about 16 that are in process to be adopted. And we end up with about 410 standards for potential future adaptation. Out of those, we found that SASO, as per the system they follow, they do have some partner organizations, which makes it easier for the adaptation. There are about 250 standards, and there are some other 150 plus standards with other organizations that we can maybe build the relationship through SASO for us to do the adaptation. Now, the adaptation, as explained earlier, it goes through a process in which we would review the standard document and make sure that it is serving a purpose or a relevance to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And if there is a need for us to introduce some changes that will ensure the relevance and serving a purpose here in Saudi, then it will be done, and then it will be processed for approval through the internal systems of SASO. Last but not least is an effort related to our contribution and collaboration with ISO. In the technical committee, we haven't yet really got to that stage, but this is what we are planning in order for us to do, working in parallel with the adaptation that we are on to seek and the collaboration with ISO, so we can make sure that what we have got in hand is also up to date and aligned with what is happening globally, as ISO is the global standard that is being utilized by most of the countries. With that, I conclude, and back to you, Wia. Thank you. Wia, I think you are muted.
True that. Okay, thank you, Dr. Qasim, for your informative, lavish presentation. شكرا دكتور قاسم على هذا العرض المفصل. سنبدأ الآن فقرة الأسئلة وصلتنا من الجمهور المتابع للملتقى. So we're going to start the Q&A segment. We collected questions from our audience with the highest interaction, and the first question goes to Engineer Zahi. Can we consider one more intensity for recycling economy along with four intensities in sustainability, which energy, water, GHG, and material effectiveness?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that question. So circular economy standard provides a way to measure and how we can contribute to improve. Calculation of benefits is already part of the standard UL 3600.
Okay, that the one you mentioned in the presentation.
Correct. It is already there. So as I mentioned, that standard is like provides a way to measure, and it's a scoring. It's not like the traditional standard, which is a pass-fail test. It's about scoring, and the more you achieve, the higher you achieve, the better the results are.
Okay, great. Second.
If you allow me, if I'm allowed also to add to this, I think one of the standards group that we are considering is really related to that economic benefit and how would you do the calculation. And I think the idea is really to have a standardized way so everybody would talk the same language across these kind of calculations. Yes.
Amazing. Okay, there's a relative question here. As the second question, we'll start with you, Dr. Qasim. What do you think about the future of standards development in the field of circular economy, in addition to other recent trends such as the sharing economy, as there are many resources or losses in supply chains that are not recyclable?
Well, I think area of circular economy is kind of evergreen, and it is an evolving area. Standards as a concept comes to try to frame and put a uniform way of handling it. And what SASO has done recently, trying really to cope with evolution happening around some of these areas by creating these technical committees to address some of these challenges or changes that are happening is, I think, the best way for us really to move forward. I didn't mention one of the areas that we are also covering, for example, is in hydrogen. And hydrogen is a new thing that is really coming. We don't yet have it on the ground, but I think SASO has taken sort of ahead of a step and start working in the standards. So what I would say, yes, indeed, there are a lot of evolution happening in this area, and I could confidently praise the system in SASO that is intercepting these changes and making sure that there is a readiness for it. So I wouldn't really see any problem for us to be able to kind of meet this challenge. Yeah.
Amazing, great news, Dr. Qasim. Third question, how can standardization bodies develop applicable standards in relation to the circular economy? Do you have anything to add regarding this, Engineer Zahi?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Sure. How can standardization bodies develop applicable standards in relation to the circular economy?
Yeah, okay. So as we mentioned in one of the slides, we have the standards technical panel where we have various groups participating to hear from different viewpoints. So through collaboration, we can achieve that.
Amazing. Okay, last question للدكتور قاسم بخصوص قياس أو مؤشر الاقتصاد الدائري للكربون، هل هو يعتبر مؤشر مركب يقيس الأبعاد المختلفة للاقتصاد الدائري للكربون ولكن في سياق وطني في دول مختلفة؟
Well, yes, indeed. And there is some effort being put around creating an index for a circular carbon economy. Now we are really talking about. And yes, indeed, it is an index that is gonna look at different dimensions when it comes to be it emissions themselves or efforts being put for managing emissions or even technology will R&D happening in that. So it is indeed a complex index, not yet there in an official format, but there are some good efforts being put. And I knew here in Kingdom, there is a great effort being led by our colleagues in CAPSAR towards creating that complex index. And soon they would be announcing that to the world. And I think this is really a great thing. So I hope that answers it. And if you allow me also, I just wanted maybe to jump back to the previous question to Zahi,
sure,
and how we would really ensure relevance of creation of standards. I think it is also relevant to or related to the process of development of standards itself. Again, I would really praise the system of SASO that start by involving relevant stakeholders, be it government or private sectors. Then there is a process that manage steps towards final document, going through a review by stakeholders and going through a public announcement and a period for any comments to be received and looked at, then a finalization. So I think going through such a process really gives the confidence that the standards is really very much relevant to the stakeholders and to the ecosystem that it is being developed for. Thank you.
Thanks to you, Dr. Qasim, for sharing with us great news. And thank you, Engineer Zahi, for this great discussion. There's a lot of takeaways, absolutely, from what you have shared with us. إذن شكرا مهندس زاهي طاهر والدكتور قاسم فلاتة على هذه المشاركات الثرية، أضافت لنا الكثير حول الاقتصاد الدائري ومفاهيم الاستدامة. الآن نختتم فعاليات الملتقى الخامس للمواصفات 2021 بكلمة ختامية من سعادة نائب محافظ الهيئة السعودية للمواصفات والمقاييس والجودة للمواصفات والمعايرة المهندس طامس بن علي الحمادي، فلتتفضل مشكورا.
Yes, please. Thank you, Sister Riam. In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful, Your Excellencies, dear audience, peace be upon you. I'm glad and I'm honored in the conclusion of the 5th edition of the International of Standards and Metrology of 20. I would like to thank His Excellency Dr. Majid Al-Qasabi, the Chairman of the Board of Standards and Metrology, for his sponsorship and the opening of this event, and Eddie Jovi, the Director of ISO, for his participation as a main speaker in this forum, and also my thanks extend to the Director of to the Commissioner of the Standards Metrology and Quality Saudi organization, and the continuous effort to make this event successful. All my thanks and gratitude extends to all the international and the local speakers that have participated in enriching this forum with the expertise. And dear brothers and sisters, your presence and participation left a great impact to the success in this gathering, in which we have reviewed a number of rich scientific papers that discussed the concept of sustainability and the role of standards in providing support for the SMEs at the fourth industrial revolution, the smart cities, the circular economy, and other topics that we discussed. And we're looking forward to benefit from both the local and international trials that was discussed today in this international event, and continue our cooperation to enhance the role of the standards and to apply by spreading the awareness about standards to achieve sustainability and to empower SMEs due to the important role it plays in achieving sustainable development, and also the importance of applying the concept of the fourth industrial revolution due to its great impact on development, and to issue legislations that will provide opportunities in all the sectors, and will not forget to raise awareness about the concept of circular economy. And this was our final topic, and its positive impact in mitigating the waste of resources, as we can benefit from this concept and many other topics, and also to benefit from the raw materials, the minerals, the energy, and its usages in recycling. In conclusion, my thanks and gratitude extend to all my colleagues, the members of the organizing committee of this forum, and the also supporting committees in organizing this forum, and hoping, asking Allah to bless us, and that we receive all the benefits that we're aiming for from this event, to better serve society and to move forward to achieve the objectives of the Vision of the Kingdom 2030, and peace be upon you. Thank you, Engineer Thomas Al-Hamadi, for this for your final words. And here we have reached to the end of this forum. At the end, I extend my thanks for the sponsorship, the Minister of Trade and SAS, also for organizing. Also, I thank you for your attendance, for your time, your interaction. We thank you, and my thanks extend to all the speakers that enrich the discussion in the 5th edition of the Standards Metrology, to shed the light about the major role played by SASO that will help us achieve all the sustainable development goals. Thank you, and accept my thanks. And peace be upon you.
What is this? What is this?
انت لا لازم احنا مترجمين بيكوز بيصير عندنا ريحه تتكلم يا بس جود ستاف.
من وين تشتريه؟
من الصيدليه تلاقيه على الكاونتر جنب الكاشير.
How safe?
ها؟
Did you
والله I didn't look it up, بس according to them لو سود جاهزه صار شيء. لا والله يبقى الصحه ما في زيها الحمد لله. خلينا نقفل الميوت. وين الميوت؟ الله يعافيك.